Good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. Tonight we're back to a theme that I have the opportunity to have several speakers coming to share with us their perspective on entrepreneurship. But tonight's discussion is more focused on the linkage between entrepreneurship and education. What we study at the university, it could be many different fields. It could be engineering, it could be architecture, it could be I don't know what. But how do you actually make the linkage into your life as being an entrepreneur? On how do you progress, or you move, you transit, you migrate to a business that you use the skill that you learn in university? And I have the pleasure to have with me an old friend of mine going back more than 15 years when we were lecturing at the Faculty of Business, and Stephen Paterson, Professor Stephen Paterson. Stephen, my friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
Well, we go way back, but I'm glad that at least on TV we still look young. Okay. It's not your gray hair, but we still look young. I remember fondly the days in the early 90s when a few of us, lecturing at the Faculty of Business, which is now the
National
University of Management. We have fond memory of those young students that we taught business, law, a little bit everything, and now move forward a decade later. They're successful entrepreneurs in their own right. They are successful, professional in their own right. And when we had the pleasure to attend their reunion, their 13th reunion, I was just so impressed. So before we go on the discussion, the dialogue, perhaps I want to give you a couple of minutes to introduce yourself a bit, so the audience know. Of course, most university student knows you.
Okay, thank you very much. As you mentioned, I started at what is now the National University of Management, what was back then Faculty of Business, with the Georgetown University program in 1994. And I was doing small business education. I was on part of the small business program, which operated in northwest Cambodia, Kampong Cham, Sihanoukville, and Phnom Penh, basically teaching how to prepare business plans and sort of short courses on entrepreneurship. And then after the end of the USA Georgetown program, I stayed with the university as an advisor and continued on the business education. To sort of the end of last year. And also in the last couple of years I've been working as Vice President International Affairs with a new university called University of Puthisastra.
You never been involved with the University of San Francisco program, no? Law program, no?
Not the law program. Actually, last year it was very interesting because I had the opportunity to bring 15 Cambodian students to San Francisco and Silicon Valley. Because we were invited by Google to visit their campus in Mountain View. And so we had a chance to visit Stanford, and we had a chance to visit Berkeley. But I still keep in touch with some of the professors like Dean Jet Brand at University of San Francisco.
Nick Ryan. From University of Michigan,
Exactly.
Exactly. Every year he tried to send me one a law intern.
Excellent.
Excellent. Every summer, No, I must say that we come a long way, from a post-crisis Cambodia struggling to now a country that is thriving. You can see throughout town all this economic development there. I would say behind all this development, I see entrepreneurship everywhere.
Yes, for sure.
What do you make out of that?
Well, I mean, obviously this is something that I'm very passionate about, and during my many years here I've been promoting entrepreneurship education, and also through competitions like the National SME Competition, which we are currently running, and the McKinsey Mekong Challenge, which is 5 countries in the region, which includes this year for the first time Myanmar. So I think finally, a lot of the efforts on business education, entrepreneurship education are paying off, and also I think students tend to be entrepreneurs entrepreneurial in terms of their overall mindset. So I think given the chance and given the right coaching, mentoring, and resources, they have tremendous capabilities to compete and to be successful in this market, and hopefully within the ASEAN market as we move to 2015.
Yeah. You mentioned ASEAN 2015, which is in my mind all the time. As we progress month by month, we're getting closer to the deadline. Let's face it, 2015 will not be a magic wand.
Yes, yes.
But all I'm saying is that the train is moving toward that direction. Maybe slow, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
But the train is on track. It's going to go. Slow speed a bit, fast speed a bit, but it's there, right? The bulk of it will be there. There'll be no full 100% implementation, but it's there. It's going to be there. So from that perspective, you see the Cambodian small, medium enterprise coming up. And let's face it, in ASEAN, the bulk of it is SME.
Yes.
So to me, it's all about competitiveness of a nation. And since Cambodia don't have the big multinational, we have to build the competitiveness of the small and medium-sized enterprise. Ultimately, they will move up one notch.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, I think looking at the education system, I think what is very important is that as ASEAN is coming together, we should also come together on the education side. And so one of the goals of doing the national competition is that we want all universities to participate. We think developing an entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurship is not just for business students.
Yes.
It's for agriculture students, for agribusiness. It's for medical students.
Yes.
It's for engineering students.
Yes.
And so, for example, this year we have about 20 universities competing. We have applications from engineering students, from food engineering students, from ITC, from this morning I got an application from University of Cambodia. We have them from agriculture. And so I think the key is that we should not work in our independent silo in terms of universities. We have more than 70 universities in Cambodia. We should be working together. We should be partnering. We should be sharing our resources and not have this mindset of, okay, we are this university and that other university is competing.
Yes.
And I think the only way for us to be successful within ASEAN is we must have this integration within the nation first.
Within the nation first,
And so I think that is the vital point that I like to emphasize. So when I go from university to university talking about entrepreneurship, I want to build the bridge between not just the private sector, which is also important, and universities, but also public universities, private universities, getting us to share resources and work together. And so I'm hopeful, right? There are challenges there, but I am hopeful.
Stephen, how I see is that a lot of the young Cambodian who go to university, it's like us, when we go to university, we have no clue anyway. We graduate, oh, wow, exciting, I graduated, and then you say, gee, what's next? So I think it's important, the coaching side is important, more than anything in a country like Cambodia, where at least when you in US, I was in US, we're all exposed. There's so much service available to help mentor, to coach a student. I don't think here is the case. And this is where the importance of having, a system where we can guide them a bit. Because some may go to engineering school, some may go to architectural school, but how do they, when they graduate, turn that into an entrepreneurship? When they start their own engineering firm or architectural firm, they're going to need more than just knowing how to design.
Yes. Well, I mean, this is where we tap into our resources. So, for example, with the McKinsey Mekong Challenge, McKinsey & Company has been working with us in Cambodia since 2006. 3 years at the national side and now with the regional side in the Mekong region. They have consultants from McKinsey from all across ASEAN mentoring the student teams. And so we're starting to tap into resources, not just in the country, but also in the region. I mean, McKinsey & Company is a great knowledge partner. They have tremendous resources. And when we put their people together with our teams, they move forward. We actually just launched a student media company called InnoMax, Innovation to the Maximum. The students just graduated from the University of Puthisastra. They've now gone out on their own. They have a contract with Ford. They have several other contracts to develop TV commercials and other media products. products.
Yes.
We have a student group from ITC, the engineering school, called Moringa Tea,
Yes.
who've developed a new type of tea supplement, and they are now testing it and doing online sales.
Oh, wow.
So students are very creative, and as you said, if you can find the right mentoring and coaching, you know, they can be very competitive.
Stephen, you mentioned a lot about Mackenzie or this Georgetown, you know, Google. These are all global institutions who care a lot about putting back into the community, local community. This year, I had the pleasure to accompany the Prime Minister to the G20, and it's important for Cambodia to be part of, you know, the larger global setting, right?
Definitely.
You know, for our leader, for some like Prime Minister to be with Obama, with Merkel, these are important. But as important is our youth.
Yes.
To be part also of the global setting. I will reach out to you later on because I want to do an awareness where we will get, you know, the Mexican presidency, you know, on the G20. You know, we will invite them to come, and we will bring together many university together.
Excellent.
And we want the Mexican presidency on G20 to say, look, this is the initiative that we're doing to reach out to global youth, right? In business and everything, right? The point is we got to nurture them to start thinking global.
Yes. Yes.
But global, back to regional, but it all start down at the national foundation. If they can compete nationally, if they are in the race, they can go to the region. If they're in the region, they can go global.
Well, just to sort of add on to that, I guess during the last 4 years, I've been bringing groups of Cambodian students to the U.S.
Yes.
3 years, for 3 years, we went to Seattle. We partnered with the University of Puget Sound, went to companies like Boeing, Microsoft, and then last year, the trip to San Francisco.
Yes.
And what I find is when I bring the best and the brightest students from Cambodia, and I should mention, when I bring students, they can be from University of Puthisastra, they are from IFL, they are from Lim Kok Ving, they are from basically multiple institutions.
They are from Cambodia.
And in the U.S., they're very impressed. They don't know what to expect. I think when we walk into Firefox, we walk into Google, they don't know Cambodian students, but they are wowed by the level of English, by the ideas, by the questions. And what I also find is that even on these 2-week exchanges, when the students come back to Cambodia, they are different people. They have seen the world. They've been exposed to new ideas, and that what they end up doing back here is very different than what they would have done had they not had that experience. So I'm a big believer in exchange programs, even short-term exchange programs. You don't have to go for a year or 2 years. That would be nice, but even regional trips to Singapore, to Malaysia. There is just so much in our neighborhood within ASEAN, right?
I have an anecdote. You know, on one the flight back from Malaysia, I was sitting next to a young chap, and I thought he was just probably a kid from university. Then we start talking, you know, it's a 2-hour flight. And I realized he owned a construction company with 200 workers. And I say, what are you doing in, you know, in Malaysia? He say, oh, he was in Singapore and in Malaysia. And what I find out is that he's going around on his own. Try to see how those architecture, this building work, right? So he see on his own initiative, he go to look at there. You see how does in Malaysia they do it, how in Singapore they do it. You see, all this exchange does open the eye.
Yes, for sure.
And that's why I'm so excited about 2015, more from the prospect of this openness, of this free flow of our intellectual, our young people who can go there, and vice versa, you know. Exposure is everything.
And I think it will be good for the university market here, because it will bring in foreign players on the education side that will increase the standard in Cambodia. So I tend to think competition is good because it increases the quality standards. So I'm not worried about Cambodian universities competing with other universities in the region. I think that it just tends to raise the bar for everyone.
Raise the bar,
and students ultimately benefit from that.
I think there's an expression say that the tide will lift up all boats, right? So small boat. But I am also a fervent believer of market force. Because ultimately you're dealing with young intellectual who will be capable to have his own judgment where there's quality for the money. And this will force, again back to competition, this will force different education provider to say, you know, how do I do better?
Yes, yes. And we also have the responsibility on the education
Yes,
side to
yes,
anticipate this
yes.
and to start increasing and improving our standards
Yes.
now.
And to me, that's what entrepreneurial spirit is all about, right?
For sure,
Is to
for sure.
anticipate, to foresee what will be the market force, the competition, and it's the survival of the fittest in a way, you know?
Yeah, it's a mindset. It's
Yes,
developing
it's
an
a mindset,
entrepreneurial
yeah.
mindset.
Stephen, I mean, we're almost hitting 2 decades in contribution to the Cambodian society from a post-crisis to a thriving city, country, government who is in position to chair the ASEAN, to go to G20 and speak among the top leader there. Cambodia come a long way. In looking back, right, what do you see the lesson learned and that we can use for the future?
I think when looking back, I think we could have done things maybe smarter
Okay.
and faster, right? I think there have been a lot of lessons learned,
Okay.
and I'm trying to apply that now, and hopefully it's not too late.
Yes.
But again, I think it's this idea of cooperation.
Yes.
You know, we often use this term coopetition,
Yes,
which
yeah.
means sometimes we
Yes.
cooperate, sometimes we
Yes.
compete.
Yes.
But I think we need to emphasize now more on on cooperation
Yes.
and working together. And I think that when we share resources,
Yes.
when we mix engineering students with business
Yes.
students, with health science
Yes.
students, with agriculture students,
Yes.
I think there's more creativity
Yes.
and more innovation.
Yes.
So I would like to see more emphasis on innovation. I would also like to see more engineering programs, more just non-business programs.
Okay,
I think we
okay.
have too much business
Yes,
education.
yes, okay,
And I
okay.
think we really need to emphasize agriculture, engineering,
yes.
Sciences,
Yes.
which Royal University of Phnom Penh is doing an excellent job.
Yes.
But still more needs to be done on science education.
So, co-opetition.
Yep. Cooperate and compete.
And compete. I think this is a good paradigm shift because, you know, to many Cambodians who are emerging, they always feel that they need to compete. But they forgot that at a certain point in time, cooperation, collaboration also bring value.
Yes. Yes.
And you bring the critical mass also. I can just use one example. Entrepreneurial wise also in the rice sector, you know, we used to have many small rice millers, exporter. They're doing fine when the market was not big. They're still doing business in the country. I'm in Battambang, I'm selling to Kampong Cham. The guy in Prevang selling to Phnom Penh. No problem. Then suddenly the market opened up. We have the rice policy, and then there are major players come in to say, look, we're interested to order 50,000 tons.
And they don't have the capability. Yes.
And then they suddenly, my God, am I going to lose that business by saying I cannot handle?
But if they
Or
work
should
to
I,
get it? Yes. Yes.
you know, call all my friends
yeah.
in different provinces, look, let's form a consortium, let's form a alliance. You know, we still have our share of the business, but we're not going to lose them to a neighbor, for example.
Yes.
So that's the value. I speak personally also as a lawyer, you know, where you have a few major law firm here, where instead of seeing as a competitor, I see more as collaborator, you know, because we cannot excelling in everything.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
we will have no control on the need of our client. And to me, how do we reach out to our fellow, you know, colleague to say, look, I cannot handle this, you take over this. And eventually, that's how you project a strong, you know, country, strong profession.
And I do the same on the education side. If a student comes to me and say, look, I want to study this particular subject, I
Yes.
have no hesitation to say, okay, IFL maybe it's a top English program,
Yes.
or you should go to ITC
Yes.
for engineering.
Yes.
Because I think this is, we have to be honest with people.
Yes,
And
yes.
we are not the best, our university is not the best in every area.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
we have to be fair, and we have
Yes.
to refer, and
Yes.
then they refer back to us, and then we work together on programs,
Yes.
entrepreneurship across the divide.
You mentioned about, you know, English literacy, how, you know, this big company, you know, in Silicon Valley is impressed with Cambodian English. Do you know that there was a study that they compared the level of English literacy in the sub-region, and Cambodia fare much better than our two big neighbors.
I'm not surprised. I'm not
Yes,
surprised.
and then I say, the conclusion is that it's more the small size of economy that force us to be more creative, to reach out to the
more
language.
global, yes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because when you are a market of 80 million Vietnamese, right?
Yeah.
If you're a small business, chances you may never need to sell to a British guy or an Australian guy. You will find enough Vietnamese consumer to buy your product. So what's the need to learn another language?
Yes.
Vice versa in Thailand.
Yeah.
But Cambodia, chance is that you will be doing some business with even the tuk-tuk driver
Yes,
will have to
yes,
speak English.
yes.
And that's quite interesting. So that's the English literacy side
Yes.
that I see is important. But the other thing that I see is important is this sort of like a free market mindset. And the WTO, is also one of the main catalysts to open up the economy. Looking forward now, 2015, 2020, how do you see the prospect of Cambodia entrepreneurship moving the next step?
Well, again, I think it comes down to the foundation, the resources, right? And
Yes.
education plays a key part. It's not just education. There's obviously, support from the government side, support from other institutions.
Yes.
But ultimately, education is key. And it's to get this creativity, because obviously entrepreneurship depends on coming up with new ideas.
Yes.
And if the education system is all about lecturing and
Yes.
not about creativity,
Yes.
that's going to
Yes.
stifle
Yes.
the innovation.
Yes.
So obviously changes in the education system to enhance creativity, new methods of instruction, case method at university, more interactive education models is the way to go.
Yeah.
And that's basically how I teach entrepreneurship. I don't teach it so much in the classroom. I
Yes.
get my students out of the classroom, launching businesses, talking to customers, talking to other stakeholders.
Yep.
And it's amazing what they learn from that process, as opposed to some PowerPoint presentation,
Yes,
which
exactly.
I find is sort of old-fashioned
Yes,
and sort of
yes.
the old methodology.
Exactly. When I was in Malaysia a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure to meet many professors because we were part of this track 1.5 dialogue on ASEAN Economic Community 2015. And I met one professor, and so he was with the University of Science, Technology and Innovation.
Yes.
So I asked him, I say, wow, that's a long title for a university. And he told me that the government of Malaysia, at one point they felt that having science and technology is adequate. And then until very recently they realized that's not enough. Having science and technology is not enough. They have to push the next step, which is innovation.
Yes.
And what you said is very interesting. Innovation is key.
And if I can add on to that, what is also very important are what they call incubators. Business
Yes.
incubators, accelerators. You can even say hatcheries, which is the idea phase
Yes.
before the incubator.
Yes.
There's only one incubator right now in Cambodia, which is funded by the
World Bank,
World
isn't
Bank.
it? Yes.
Emerging market entrepreneur. But so much needs to be done. I mean, when you look at universities in Malaysia,
Yeah.
they have their own incubators.
Yes.
So it's basically a place where students can go and launch their business, get coaching and mentoring,
Yes.
get access to financing.
The backup support.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so this has been another thing that I've been trying to reach out to universities to set up incubators. And it means sometimes not doing it yourself, but creating a platform where the engineering university can come in, where business schools can come in. I actually talked to the CJCC to try to get that as a platform, because it's an international sort of it's sort of quasi-independent, but part of Royal University of Phnom Penh.
Yes, yes.
And certainly they're interested. They have their own entrepreneurship programs. But again, it's this mindset. We have to sort of work by ourselves, right?
Yes.
So it's trying to break out of that and get into a much bigger picture and mindset.
So we're coming to the end of the show. What's your last message?
Well, I guess I will talk about our competition. We do have the national competition ongoing right now.
Yes.
Deadline is September 1st, but we will be extending that to September 15th. It's
Yes.
open to all university students
Okay.
from every background, and so they can visit our website and get more information on that. And again, it's just the importance of entrepreneurship education. And again, entrepreneurship education is not just for business schools. It's very vital for the engineering programs,
Yes.
agriculture programs, medical
Yes.
programs, science programs. And so part of my mission and part of my passion is to share that vision and try to encourage more people to embrace the concept of entrepreneurship
Yes.
education and entrepreneurship mindset.
Simon, thank you so much for coming and share with the audience a short 30 minutes, but of historical background, how Cambodia moved from the last 2 decades and moving forward to I would say, a more competitive entrepreneurship in the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank
Yes.
you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of the show, but entrepreneurship is crucial for not just the survival of our economy internally, but it's crucial for the competitiveness of Cambodia in the context of next couple of years, where we be entering a I like to call it sort of like a larger market, the ASEAN Economic Community, with free flow of goods, free flow of service, free flow of skilled people. Skilled people require education. Skilled people require, support. And entrepreneurship matter very much, because in any economy, if the entrepreneur spirit is not there, we will not be able to go to the next step. So on that note, I want to say that I really appreciate that Stephen took the time to come, and I hope to invite him maybe a few months down the road when you have the competition.
Okay.
When after it's done,
Sure.
we could invite maybe some Mackenzie people, maybe have a panel discussion.
Excellent.
To sort of stimulate further, the young mind to say, come and enter the race. You never know. It's not about winning or losing. It's about being in.
Yes.
It's about being in the competition, building that challenging spirit, and ultimately someday you will do well somehow. So on that note, I want to say good night, and I'll see you next week.